This is Talk Sporty, Season 1, Episode 4. What happens if you take Sooner football, you add two passionate and very opinionated ladies? What do you get? Talk Sporty. Welcome to Episode 4. I'm Dana.
And I'm Shawn.
And we're here to talk about OU Sooner football.
Yeah, we are. Okay, yeah. So just like one thing before we get started. Last night, your husband told me to get all these lights and put them on my face and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, seriously, dude? Are you kidding me? Do you realize that it's 8 a.m.? I got home from the football game after 11 p.m. and I'm over 50. Nobody needs to see that.
That's not true, Shawn. That is not true.
Under the eyes and all that kind of stuff. Nobody needs to see that. Oh my goodness.
It is true. This morning I thought, why fix my hair if I'm going to put these things on? Just kind of, yeah, it's looking great.
That's why my hair is still kind of wet.
Maybe we have good faces for radio.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, one more thing. Do you like my shirt? Look at my shirt.
I do. It's very cute.
Isn't it cute? Okay. So this shirt, this woman, I think she must have Texas connections because when she first started her company, like lots of Texas schools, you know, she's got the Longhorns and A&M and SMU and it's called spiritdresses.com. And so she had red and white, you know, and she says like University of Arkansas. So I ordered the red and white one time. I didn't think it's quite right, and it totally wasn't. And so I emailed her and I said, how about you do some crimson and cream?
Yeah.
And she goes, but there's so many red things out there, and I just don't know if I'd sell enough. And I'm like, seriously, there are so many Sooner fans in, you know, Texas. Yes, you would.
Do it.
And so this season, she did a crimson and cream, and it's very much OU, and it's cream, and I know these lights you can't tell, but it's very cute. So spiritdresses.com. I thought I'd give her a shout out.
Okay.
Because she made crimson and cream.
Okay, sounds.
I'm going to assume she made them just for me.
Yes,
because I asked. She did.
She did.
I'm
and
sure she did.
You're a very important podcast hostess. That's all it takes.
That's all. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't even a podcast host then, and she made them. So, crimson and cream, Boomer Sooner. Let's go. All right.
Okay.
Season
so, what did you think about
started.
the ball game last night?
Yeah, it was hot in more ways.
You're on the west side. We were on the east side. We were hot from the time we sat down until the game was over. Oh, just drippy sweat.
Yeah.
Oh, smelly, sticky, stinky.
But
we did it for our Sooners.
That's right. That's a problem with these early games.
Yes.
Next weekend I'm giving the tickets to my daughter, so I'm not going. But night games this time of year are much better.
Yes. Yeah. It would have been much better if it started when it was over. Yes.
Yes. Well, after halftime we were in the shade. So I didn't think we would be in the shade that soon, but we made it to the shade after halftime. But I know you were never in the shade. You had the sun in your eyes the whole entire game.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, you should.
I guess. Of course, then I think those poor guys were out there playing, and it was.
I know. And
120 maybe on the field. I don't know how they did it.
I
don't know how they did it.
They did it because Venables took them out to the rugby field.
I guess that's true. They were at the rugby field, and Schmitty's got them in shape. So
they were playing.
Maybe we all need to do a Schmitty weekend retreat or something before the game start for all the fans.
I want to see my biceps and triceps more. Come on, Schmitty. Oh my gosh, I don't even. No, seriously, I'm just kidding. I don't want that. Oh goodness. Well, we got there early because we were going to the Sooner tailgate. So we're walking down Lindsay. And we see the buses coming and everybody's cheering. And, they used to stop the buses in front of the Switzer Center.
Right.
But they have a different Walk of Champions now, I guess. So they stopped the buses right there kind of by Headington Hall.
Okay.
At Lindsay and Jenkins. And so they just walked down Jenkins. And so they walked into the stadium that way instead of going by the Switzer Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, they're all in their new suits that one company provided for all the guys.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't know about that.
They all got, I'm pretty sure this is right because, I think I saw this on Twitter, and if you see it on the internet, it must be true. But they were measuring all the guys, and they got to pick, like what they wanted the lining to be, and so they're not all in the same color suit, but they're all in really nice suits and walking into the stadium. And
How nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, and I think they need to be made to fit because most of those guys are big, broad shoulders, that sort of thing. So you can't just pick it up off the rack.
No, I'm guessing not. I'm guessing those offensive linemen, you can't just get a suit.
So did Venables have on a suit? I don't know that I've ever seen him in a suit.
So where we were standing, there were a lot of people up front, and I could only see like the big guys, and every now and then see the football players through between people. And so it looked like a lot of people who were probably coaches and support staff had on just polos. So I'm not sure that Venables had on a suit, but because I never saw him, so I'm not sure. But people were all excited. I mean, it was always fun when they'd walk into the Switzer Center too, because I was over there then. But I just say, oh, they're doing something different.
Yeah. Well, and I think Venables needs to get his own brand going.
Yeah, exactly.
If I totally understand if he says, hey, let's change it up. Let's do it this way. Because that way it'll be his way as opposed to this how it's always been done.
Yeah. I'm talking about that on the radio last night. And it was on KRXO, I guess. We had it on for a little bit, anyway, I was going to say something about the guys doing it, but I won't. But anyway, they were talking about the cheetah position, like we talked about the last podcast, and they're like, that's basically the Roy. So it was the Roy when Venables was here, so why don't we call it the Roy? I don't get it, And I'm like, let him call it the cheetah. Cheetah sounds cooler than Roy anyway. I mean, people who weren't here when Roy Williams was, they don't know what that means. I like cheetah better.
Right.
I mean, no offense.
Well, he was an excellent player.
Yes.
But yes, I say call it the cheetah. Yeah. Like we were talking about in our last podcast, that's a predator.
Yes.
And that's what that position is doing. They're trying to prey on whoever's coming their way or sneak back and help with whatever's going on. So call it that. I like it.
That's right. All right. So what were your thoughts at the beginning of the game or at the end? Or
gosh, Shawn, I mean, there was just so much excitement in the stadium before the game kicked off. Everybody in their place and hooping and hollering, and the big screen comes on and they do their little
crazy train. Woo!
Yes. And then it took a minute for everybody to get out on the field. There seemed to be a little delay. Everybody's clapping and clapping and clapping. And then finally they came out. But it was just good to get the game started. I think get everybody's nervous jitters out there and let them play. So just tons of excitement in the air as Venables kicked off his first home game.
Yeah, I loved it.
I guess his first coach, head coaching.
Yes, head coaching
game.
I loved it. Marvin Mims just jumping up and down, and they're, high-fiving the cheerleaders and the roughnecks. And it seemed like there was, usually the players run out and they're excited, but I don't know. It seemed like a different level of excitement. And I'm sure part of that is I'm looking for that, right? It was just Stoops Riley, right? It's Stoops / Riley. It wasn't Stoops Riley.
That's true.
Because Riley had been there, and also we're just
I guess that's true. Things were very similar, so we'll just keep doing it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, those guys, they're just like jumping around and having fun coming out the tunnel, and they're not just running to get to the other end, and I don't know. It was exciting.
It was exciting. So, I agree. So what were your thoughts? I guess with the play, since that's what we're supposed to be talking about.
So I thought Mims was awesome.
Yes. That long ball that he caught. I mean, obviously they can connect on more of that.
Yes, for sure. Thought Mims was awesome. Loved to see that because I think he should have been getting the ball more last year.
Oh, I agree. He was underutilized. We all said that.
Right.
I'm just not sure that the quarterbacks at the time could get the ball to him. And with Gabriel, we know he can get the ball to him. He did
Mhm.
have a couple of overthrows
Right.
yesterday, and I guess more overthrows than underthrows,
Yeah,
but
because
he
yeah, I know,
can
I
get
know
that
there's an
long ball to
overthrow
him.
to the field. Yeah, and golly, Gabriel gets that ball out fast.
Yes,
Woo!
yes.
And him being a lefty is kind of odd too, right? I'm not used to seeing that
Very,
as much.
yes,
So
very
yeah,
unusual. Well,
so
and the while we're speaking about him, I thought what was cool was his handoffs. If he's
hmm
going to hand it to the running back or keep it,
hmm
he confused me, and I'm up high
hmm
in the air, so I
yes,
can usually see the play develop.
right,
And then I would think, well, he's still running, but
yeah,
the running back's getting tackled. Wait, he must have the ball. Like I couldn't physically see it.
yeah.
So
One of those
whatever
first
his sleight
quarterback
of hand is
keeps.
good.
Yeah, one of those first quarterback keeps. I'm like, oh dang, we didn't go anywhere because yeah, they
Yeah.
tackled the
And
running
then
back
he's
and
he's made 7, 8 yards.
yeah.
Now
Oh,
I
okay,
do want
first
him
down.
to slide foot forward. Come
Oh,
on.
yeah,
Don't worry.
yeah.
Don't try and get yourself injured, especially against, an opponent that
hmm
that we shouldn't have trouble beating. I
Right.
mean, do
Yes.
not let somebody pounce on you
Yeah.
on the ground. Slide. Come on, you're the
Yeah.
quarterback. We don't want you hurt.
Exactly. That was one of the good things. I loved Kyler's slides.
Yes,
He's a
yes. Tyler
baseball
was
player.
good at that. He was like,
He's a
I'm
baseball
going
player.
down. I'll just take
Yeah,
it down.
baseball player. He knew how to do that. Um, and I thought Eric Gray looked great.
Yes, I did too. He had a 100-yard game.
Yeah,
He had a 100-yard
yeah,
rushing game,
I
which is
saw that.
great.
hmm
I mean,
Well,
he didn't
especially when
play
you,
the entire game.
yeah, and Marcus Major played well, and um, but probably my favorite play was Gavin Freeman, the end around.
Oh, yes. And that was so unexpected when he
Yes.
grabs the ball. I mean,
Can
and
you
again,
imagine?
that was an end around,
You're very
total foolery.
you are your very first play as a Sooner, and you
Touchdown.
score a touchdown. Okay, the kid is a walk on because he wanted to walk on at OU, and okay, so he's from Heritage Hall.
I didn't
So
realize he was a walk-on. Excellent.
yeah,
I knew he was from Oklahoma City.
yeah,
So, okay, cool,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, and he gets the ball, and then what he broke, I don't know, 4 tackles. I mean,
It was.
he kind of did a little
Mm-hmm.
curly cue and ended up almost going down, but he stays up, he keeps his balance, and then he weaves in and out, and then he scores a
Yeah,
touchdown.
doesn't matter whatever else he does. And the pitch on that end around was just perfect. So you're talking
Yes.
about when Gabriel hands off. I mean that pitch was great, but everybody where I'm saying, who is that kid? Who's that kid? I go, well, I've got the roster. Oh, Gavin Freeman. Oh, that's that Oklahoma City kid. So all of
Well,
us were like, who is
we
that?
we were all the same way. It's like, who is that? Where did he come from? Has he
Right.
even played out there yet?
He had not, and but it was awesome. So
Yes, that was great.
that was pretty fun.
And
So
normally you don't get to see very many of those little, I guess, tricks or whatever,
hmm
in these early games, but
yeah,
it's kind of nice to get that out there,
yes,
and let the guys play. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I thought it was good to let Javante Barnes
hmm
play in the fourth quarter. I thought
Yes,
he looked good. He
he
did
did
have a
look good,
fumble, but
but
he
he got right
recovered
back
it.
on it. Yeah,
I know, and I thought, I hope I hope he's better with ball security than that. Hopefully, that was just one of those fluke
right.
things. But
Yeah,
he's speedy, and he just
he
kind
is
of
speedy.
went right at him, kind of like, I'm just going to keep running down
Yeah,
your throat at you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I liked that.
So
Braden Willis, he was another
oh,
bright
Braden looked
bright
great. And
spot in the offense.
tight end across the middle is one of my favorite plays. OU has been doing that for a long time. I thought we didn't. Well, I don't know why we didn't use Stogner more last year. Is that because he's big and he's huge and but
Right.
tight end across the middle? Thank you. I mean, Braden
You're
had two
you should be an
touchdowns.
easy target. Come on.
Yes,
And you're big, so you should
yes.
run over some guys.
And Braden had lots of great blocks on a bunch of those other.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I think he was crucial to the run game,
Mm-hmm.
getting it
Yes.
established. The O line did a great job. No offense to them,
Right. Right.
but he was able to find somebody
Mm-hmm.
else and block downfield, that
Yeah.
downfield blocking. And he's
Yeah.
a big guy, so
Yeah.
I was excited he got some touchdowns to go along with,
Me
all
too.
the blocking that's kind of not a thankless job.
Right, right.
And yes, shout out to the O-line. I thought they
Uh-huh.
did really well.
Yep.
Um, it looks like they've moved Harrison over to be a right. He's like a right tackle, and I guess that's because that would be Dylan's
Oh,
blind
right, right.
side.
Sure, exactly.
Originally they'd said Harrison would be playing on the left of the line, and I always thought,
Uh-huh.
why is he not on the right
Yeah,
side? But
usually the best tackle's going to be on the blind side. So,
yeah, and
yeah.
so he played that position at least yesterday. So
Yeah, that
that
would be kind of a switch for him though, because usually if you're,
right, it's usually the
yeah,
opposite. Yeah,
you're,
but with him being a lefty
mm-hmm,
quarterback, I'm
right.
assuming that's why they did that.
Yeah, I
But
bet that is
I
why.
I thought the O line played really well. Well, we had a couple of false starts, but hey, it's the first game of the
Mm-hmm,
season. I mean, that
right.
is okay.
Yeah.
If it'd been this time last year, we probably had 100 yards in penalties in the first game, and this game we had a couple of false starts. We had a couple of pass interferences. One
Mm-hmm.
of them was maybe questionable. You guys could see it better than I could. We
You saw
didn't
the
think it was
jersey
a
move,
pass
and
interference.
those, and they're gonna
They're
call
gonna
it.
call that
I
every
mean,
time.
that's what they always say on TV anyway. If you see that jersey pull, they're gonna call it. So,
Yeah.
and
But
and and
overall,
it
I
was
thought
that
they
was
played
ridiculous
well.
because the ball was way over his head and out the
Wasn't
back
it
of the end zone.
uncatchable? Yeah.
Yes, so
Okay.
he should never have done that.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah,
Yeah. Don't get yourself caught doing something like that when you don't
no,
need to.
no. Also, it was really great how we won the toss and we took the ball.
Yes. Yes. That's so
Yes,
much like Barry Switzer.
yes.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
that's what I remember Barry would say. Bring it on. We're gonna show
Yeah,
you what we
we're
got.
going to show you. And it's true. If you're playing a team that you should for sure beat and you're not concerned, you don't need to get the ball to start the second half because you should be way up.
Right.
And we
Right.
started quickly. We scored on our first possession, and it's like my husband was saying. He goes, "That's not the past few years. We have started slow. Our first games have looked slow. We've had
Sloppy.
to." We've they've been maybe a little bit iffy on if we were going to win, and so started
Right.
strong from the
Well, we
very
had seven
first
points in
kickoff.
1 minute and 11 seconds or
Yes,
something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That was excellent.
It was excellent. It was super fun.
Just a
I
couple of
love
big
it.
plays and boom.
Boom,
We're in the end zone.
touchdown. Good deal. We'll take that. We'll take that any day,
You bet.
especially when it's this hot.
Oh yeah, yeah. If the clock could have ticked faster, like could we just skip the fourth
Oh,
quarter?
I know. Yeah, I'm
I
kind of
know
like,
that.
okay, just run the ball. Everybody just run the ball. Just
Yes,
keep that clock going, going, going.
yes, I agree.
But
So
it's
tell me
fun.
about the defense. What did you think about the
Well,
defense?
so Reggie Grimes
Mm,
was
everywhere.
amazing. He was. Yeah. There he is. There he is. There he is again. Yeah.
Yes, and he has beefed up, or he's sure bigger than I remember him from
Oh,
last year.
but
And
he's
if
still fast. He's still
oh
getting
yeah,
back.
still
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were putting pressure on the quarterback, which was good to see,
Uh huh.
you know.
Yes. There were some times that their quarterback I thought played very well, and he
He
was very
did.
good at seeing the whole field and not just hitting his
Uh-huh.
first or second
Yeah.
receiver. He could snap it to somebody else, and he
hmm
could get it into somebody very.
Yeah.
He made it look easy.
Right.
Um, but we had pressure on him. We had him
Yes.
running. We had
Yeah, we
him.
did.
He felt our guys breathing down his throat a lot. He didn't
Yeah.
necessarily get sacked that much, but we did get some pressure on him.
Right. So interesting thing about that quarterback. So the back of his jersey said Laufenberg, and so we live in Texas, and we're cowboy. Hear about cowboys all the time, and so Babe Laufenberg played for the Cowboys. He does commentary for the
Okay.
Cowboys on a lot of stuff down here. And so I'm like, I look at Brett, and I go Laufenberg. I go, is that
Is
Babe's
he
son?
related?
I go, but Babe's son, Babe Laufenberg had a son who actually did play at UTEP and died from leukemia. He had
Oh,
leukemia, he died in 2019. And so I'm like, does he have another son? And so I'm Googling, right? And I'm like, okay, their quarterback's name I think is Hardison. But I'm
so
guessing
he
he's wearing this
wore
jersey, yeah,
in
in
memory
in
of.
memory of
Okay.
Laufenberg's. Yeah.
Okay.
And so while I'm Googling, I see somebody on Twitter has written, somebody needs to tell Fox Sports that the quarterback for UTEP, his name is not Hardison. Like, oh my goodness.
You're like, they're not getting it. They
Getting
needed
it.
to announce that at the start of the game.
And
Hey.
yeah, you would guess they probably did sometime during the broadcast, but this guy must have missed it. So
He's like, those
anyway.
idiots.
Yeah, those idiots. But there were a couple of times. So I think our secondaries still working. I think they're probably still working the defense out a little bit, Brent's defense, because there were a couple of times that their receivers were wide open. A couple of times that quarterback missed some wide open receivers too, even though he was pretty good. And it did seem like that got better as the game went on. Now, I also realize the opponent's receivers might have been getting tired, but I think that will come.
Yeah.
And I do think they looked better than part of what looked better is even if they were catching the ball, well, a lot of times that quarterback was accurate enough. Our receivers were all over. I mean, our cornerbacks were all over the guys, but he was accurate enough.
He could still get the ball to them.
He could still get it, but
there wasn't yard after carry or yard after catch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then our pursuit from our defensive guys. So one guy might be slowing him down, but we'd have 3 or 4 guys come in to finish off that tackle, which didn't seem like was the case last year.
Yes, I agree. We could tackle. That was the biggest takeaway I had on defense. I thought everybody played a good game, but we could tackle. And how long has it been? How many years has it been that we
all the missed
would
tackles?
dive at the feet and the guy would just keep running, or we'd kind of dive at his knees and he'd sidestep us and keep running down the field and score a touchdown.
Or they just bounce right off of him or something.
Yeah, they didn't grab him and wrap him up and pull him down to the ground.
Yeah.
And that's what I noticed. The first defensive guy that would get there would grab his hips or his waist or his legs and wrap him up and hold him. And even if he got pulled along just a little bit, he's getting him down while the other guys pursued and got him stopped within just a few yards of where that first tackle was initiated. And that was awesome to see because we have not seen that.
No, it was
in years, maybe since early Bob Stoops. You know, it may be early 2000s when we last saw that the defense could tackle. Everybody on the defense could tackle and bring somebody down.
Yeah, and talking about defense, oh my gosh, David Ugwebu, he was great too.
Yeah, I thought so too. He was all over the over the field.
Yeah, they started putting other players in too. So our edge rushers were doing their thing, linebackers were doing their thing. Secondary was doing their thing.
I just everybody I thought did a really good job. And again, they're all a little bit nervous. We are playing a team that we're better than. But that doesn't always show out on the field. And so I thought it was a great team effort. Our kicker, I liked him. He's somebody that we really didn't see last year with Burkich there. But almost every time he was very consistent at getting it into the end zone or the corner of the end zone. Almost every time they did 1 or 2 run backs, but we were able to cover that.
But then so then when they did the run backs, they didn't even get to the 20. So
it's like don't do that.
You're better off
don't
not
do
doing
that. And of course, then we've got Turk. I mean, golly.
Oh my gosh, that guy can punt the ball.
Great punter.
The only time he didn't have a great punt was when the snap almost went over his head, but he still got the ball off and he still got it 35 yards down the field.
It was close to 40-yard punt, and it was
when
not
that
good
happens,
mechanics.
When that happens, just the fact that he could get it off and was great. And in our return game.
Yes, they're letting Marvin return. They're letting him take the ball, or at least it seemed like last year they were like, "You're just supposed to fair catch."
Yes,
I mean, let him show some of his explosiveness. What's wrong with that?
Well, you're not wrong because I was listening to Podcast on the Prairie with Braden Willis and Jeremiah Hall, and they Jeremiah, and he laughs because he goes, I'm not in the room anymore. So, I'm like looking at all this like a fan. He goes, but when I saw that Marvin was, instead of Eric Gray, was going to be returning punts this year, I'm like, okay, here we go. And they said that after Shane Beamer left, their return game was just not designed to be aggressive. And it was more like, okay, we're just going to take the ball and we're going to let our offense do what our offense does. And so that was fun. And even, Eric Gray had some, there were a few times they'd take it in the end zone on the kickoff, which there's only a couple kickoffs for him. And they'd run it out.
And run it out.
Yeah, so I like that aggressiveness.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, we don't want to get anybody hurt.
And Marvin
I totally
called
understand
fair catch when times that it was appropriate to call fair catch, and he even got.
But if he can get us 10 yards, go for 10 yards instead of just take a knee. There were so many times in the last few years that you're like, he could have gotten some yardage, but he'd obviously been told fair catch. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And so, and then there were some of those times too when we needed to be more aggressive and go ahead and take that ball further, and we didn't the last few years. So so that was fun to see and get all that stuff worked on early in the season too. So,
if you had to give a game ball out, who would you give a game ball to?
I wasn't expecting that question.
Just came to me. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
and there's
fair.
no right or wrong.
So I think defensive game ball I'd give to Reggie Grimes because of those explosive plays. He wasn't the tackle leader for the team, but those kinds of plays get everybody up and excited, right? And
you just saw him all over the field. So what if you had to give one for the offense?
So just because I just thought it was like super sweet. I'd probably give it to Gavin Freeman, not that he necessarily.
That's a good idea.
But like I said, Walk-On comes on and scores on his very first touch, and if the kid never does anything else in his career,
he's got the game. Well, he's got a real game ball, hopefully.
Yes, he's got a real game ball
to give to his mom.
Yeah, but I guess a real one maybe to Marvin. Although Eric played really great too, so
yeah.
Who would you give the game ball to?
Oh gosh, I hadn't really thought about it, Shawn. It just popped in my head. Gosh, I would probably go. I'll give one to Marvin because he wanted to be that explosive leader last year, and I'm just glad that he didn't leave us. Me
too.
He hung around and said, I'm going to hang around and see if they'll get the ball to me this year. And I think that's definitely in the game plan.
For sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
And defense, oh gosh, I don't know. There's so many big guys out there. Maybe Ethan Downs because he's so cute.
Yes.
A little Weatherford boy, but he has beefed up too.
Yes. Well, you were looking at that picture of him.
Yes, he's on one of these magazines that was in Norman yesterday, and I'm like, that's Ethan Downs. His arms like that big around.
Yeah.
But he was all over their O-line yesterday. He was pressuring them all over the place. So I might give it to him just because he's a Weatherford boy.
Yeah, I love it. And just that you were talking about Marvin, and I was talking about when he came, out at the beginning of the game, and then I'd watched the guys, especially the first half, after we would kick off, and how the kickoff team, a lot of them will always run all the way down, the field into the end zone and then back to the team line, and they would run down there, and they're like looking at the fans, and they're just cheering, and they're getting the fans hyped up. They were being part of all of it and getting, trying to get the fans into it. Well, it was super fun.
And Danny Stutzman, he's another one that I noticed. He was always, arms up in the air, hollering and getting the crowd pumped up.
Yeah.
And he did that quite a bit last year, but this year even more. And I was like, hey, way to go. It definitely helps the crowd when it's a close game. So, that was all very, very cool to see.
Yeah, and it was good to see some of these younger guys getting to play, or second stringers getting to play.
Yeah. I was glad they all got to get in there and kind of get their feet wet.
Yeah, me too.
I wish they'd let the backup quarterback maybe pass.
Throw. Yes.
Yes, let's let him practice.
That guy is big. He is
He
tall,
is big.
especially compared to Dylan.
Yes, he is a big guy. And they were just having him hand off. It's like, let him work on his passes, because if he has to come in, it's at a time that we may need him to do more than just hand off the ball at the line of scrimmage. I mean, let him have some reps that are beneficial to him.
So Dana, next episode, let's talk about maybe the new playoff format.
Oh yes, because that just got pushed through, and I'm excited for that. We've been needing a 12-game format.
Yeah.
But yes, we can talk about it next episode.
Yeah, and then that crazy Big Ten media deal. All right, so Dana, we started that segment, our last episode. Tell me about your favorite.
Okay.
So tell me about your favorite football season, OU football season.
Any OU football season.
Any OU football season of all time. You can make it, back in Bud Wilkinson's day if you want. I don't care.
Don't remember though. I'm not that old. Come on, Shawn. You're older than I am.
You're right. I am older than you are.
My favorite football season would probably be our last undefeated season, which was 2000.
Same.
Go Bob Stoops.
Yes. Yeah.
But Brent was on the sidelines. Brent was an assistant, like co-defensive coordinator, wasn't he?
Yeah, with Mike.
I think he and Mike were co-defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
So that would be that's probably my favorite season.
Okay, so tell me why it was your favorite season.
Well, it's undefeated. So you beat everybody. Now, some of the margins weren't extremely big, but it doesn't matter. It was a W. Every game was a win.
Yeah.
And it was unexpected.
Yes.
We were not planning. I mean, we knew we'd have a pretty decent team, but we'd been so bad in there with, well, of course we had Gary Gibbs, we thought wasn't very good compared to Barry Switzer, but he was a whole lot better than what transpired.
Oh my gosh. John Blake, Schnellenberger. Oh my goodness.
Those years were bad. And bad. My husband and I, we'd leave the games at halftime and go eat Mexican food because it wasn't worth watching the end of the game. You were going to lose.
We
lost at home. We lost on the road. We lost everywhere.
We did.
So
it was so bad.
So yes. So all of a sudden when we had, we had a good team in 1999, I'm getting my numbers all confused. Bob Stew's first year.
Yeah.
And then 2000, it's like, we're going to have an even better team.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody expected us to win a national championship.
No.
Who was Josh Heupel? Who is this kid? He's just some coach's son. He's all we could find.
Yeah. Yes.
And then he comes out and he's like, whoa, he's accurate. He's a good passer. He was a great team leader. We had him. We had Quentin Griffin. Little Q was on the team.
Derek Strait.
Yes. Oh, Derek Strait. Oh my gosh, I love Derek Strait. We had Rocky Kalmus. We had Teddy Lehman.
Yeah, it's just great.
We had some greats, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It was a great season, and every game you knew going in, we should win this. It may be close, but we should win this game. Yeah. And I so wish we'd gone to the national championship game. My husband and I did not go, but
my husband wouldn't let me go because my son was a month old, not even a month old.
Dang.
I'm like, I'll hold him right here the whole time. I'll protect him. I won't leave him at home. He can just be right here in my arms. I promise.
Wouldn't it have been fun to be at that game?
Gosh, it would have been so much fun.
Yes.
That was my favorite season ever, like you said, because it was unexpected, because we were just coming off this drought in Sooner football. And I remember so much about that year, which I did not remember this, but we started the year with UTEP.
I did not remember that either. Okay. Well, maybe this is a season to pattern after.
Right? but I remember, so we killed Texas that year, and that was, going to be this big matchup, and nobody expected us to kill Texas. And it's like, okay, either we're good or Texas sucks,
Yeah.
And
Well, and they always suck. I mean, that's always a given.
Well, right, exactly. That's nothing new. So, and then the next week we played K-State, and K-State was, they were up in the top 5. I don't remember where they were ranked.
I know they were in the top. I don't remember.
They were ranked pretty high. I laughed at that game because my dad came and he had on a purple shirt, and I'm like, Dad, dude.
Your dad?
Yeah, and it was kind of a maroon purple, and so he just wasn't thinking. I'm like, Dad, you're wearing the enemy colors. What are you doing?
You got to take that off. Go shirtless. Come on.
No. Nobody wants that. But anyway, and then we beat K-State. And so I'm like, what?
Hey, this team's not too bad. Not too shabby.
Maybe we've got something. And then the next week was Nebraska. So it's 3 weeks in a row, right? And we beat Nebraska. We killed them. Oh, my gosh. And I'm like, okay, we got a team.
Yes.
We have a team.
Yes.
And that Nebraska game was the one where everybody stormed the field. We tore the goalposts down. We were down there. Yes, we were. And I don't know.
Now, I minded the rules and sat in the stands.
Okay.
I stayed. I hung around and watched the craziness. But
no, I didn't tear the goalpost down, but I went down on the field.
Okay. Well, I didn't do that. That's against the rules.
Oh, you can't really see it, but we have this sign that they put up above where you walk in, when you're coming through the tunnel, when you're walking in the stadium. And it's just this laminated piece of paper. It says, cheer like a champion today. And so we had been down on the field and we were leaving, and that sign was still up there, and it's just taped up there, and Brett took it. And so it's here in the office. Great season.
You were a vandal. You vandalized the property.
I wasn't. I'm usually such a rule follower. Oh my goodness, what's up with that?
This is confession.
But anyway, that was my favorite season too.
Yes,
my favorite season.
It was
too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It was excellent. And then we beat K-State again. We
had
to
in
play
the
them
championship.
again.
We had to beat them
in the championship game. I remember, and it was cold. Oh, it was.
It's up there in Kansas
really
City,
cold
right?
up there in Kansas City.
Oh gosh, yes.
And the stadium had a lot of Kansas people.
Did you guys go to that game?
We went to that game, and as we're there, it's like, why? But we could drive, like we could get in the car and drive.
Yeah.
And it was just bitter cold, just cold toes, cold hands the whole game. But we won. We won. Beat Bill Snyder, and then, of course, we went to the Orange Bowl. I mean, we personally didn't go, but we played in the Orange Bowl. And as I remember, on the TV, they kept saying, if Snoop Dogg, and it wasn't Snoop Dogg, they had a player, Florida State had a player, remember? Snoop somebody.
Okay.
And they were like, he was ineligible to play.
Okay. And they're like, if he'd been there, they just thinking, trying to remember.
Yeah. Well, and they kept saying if Snoop could play, he'd turn this whole game around and the Sooners wouldn't be ahead. But how did we win that game? The score was 13-2. And what did we win with? Defense.
Yes. Yeah.
Bob Stoops brought defense to our team. We hadn't had it in maybe 10 years.
And that 2 points was because we just allowed that punt to be a safety. We let him kick it over his head because we gave him that. Because we're like,
we gave him those 2 points.
That's
to get out of the get out of that into the field.
That's better than letting them have a touchdown right here. So because we almost had a shutout. So yeah.
It was just one of those games. It'll still sometimes come on TV and I have to watch it. I don't have it saved by any means, but it'll come on. I'm like, oh, I got to watch this again, even though I know what happened.
I mean, and we won a national championship my senior year of college, and that was 2000 was still better because, like you said, unexpected.
Just totally unexpected.
So
and defense wins championships, and that's what we're working on right now with Brent Venables. That's right. He's back to get our defense into shape.
He has won some championships with defense. He knows.
Yes,
this.
he has.
He knows how to do this. Okay. All right. Well, this has been great, and we'll get together soon and talk about some of that stuff, and we'll just talk sporty with you next time.
Okay. Talk sporty with you too, Shawn. Bye.
Right. Bye.